They always say your childhood shapes who you become, but no one ever talks about what happens when your childhood gets hijacked, twisted into something unrecognizable. I was 12 the year everything went wrong. The year Eddie Warner moved into the pale yellow house across from mine. At first glance, Eddie was just another quiet kid. Thin frame, messy brown hair, a light smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. He was only 11, but there was something eerie about how still he stood, how his eyes never blinked when he stared too long. I remember the unease creeping into my chest. We used to ride our bikes past his yard, hoping he'd join, but he never did. He just always watched. From the attic window, from the porch swing. Once I swore I saw him at 2 a.m., barefoot in the middle of the street, just staring up at the sky like he was listening for something. Rumors started fast. Kids at school said Eddie never spoke unless spoken to, that he carried a notebook filled with drawings of dark woods and broken faces. But small towns love gossip, and no one really believed it, except me, because I saw things I didn't want to admit were real. It started with the cat. Mrs. Langley's Tabby went missing first, then a dog 2 houses down. Then Kyle, my friend, since kindergarten, vanished one Saturday morning. No traces, no sound, just gone. The cops called it coincidence. My gut said otherwise. I knew Eddie had something to do with it, but how do you accuse a child, especially one who smiles so sweetly and never causes trouble? Adults saw what they wanted to see, but I saw something else, something beneath his skin, a stillness to quiet, a darkness to heavy. I couldn't prove it, but I felt it, like a cold breath on my neck, and one night I made the worst mistake of my life. I followed Eddie. I watched him sneak out of his house barefoot again into the woods behind our neighborhood. And I followed him, heart pounding, breath frozen. What I saw that night, it changed me forever. It still haunts my dreams. The woods were always quiet at night, too quiet. Branches cracked beneath my shoes as I trailed Eddie deeper into the trees. No flashlight, no fear, just him, moving like he knew exactly where he was going. I kept my distance, ducking behind trunks, my hands trembling so badly I could barely breathe. He stopped near the old stone well, the one we all used to dare each other to pee into as kids. It was covered in moss now, forgotten, but Eddie knelt beside it like it was sacred. He opened a tin box he'd carried, pulled something out, and started whispering. I couldn't hear the words, but I felt them. The air shifted. He wasn't praying. It was something darker. His voice didn't even sound like his. It was lower, guttural, like someone else was speaking through him. That's when I saw the flicker of red light at the bottom of the well. Just a faint pulse, like a heartbeat. I almost screamed, but I didn't. I ran. I ran so fast I scraped my palms on bark, tripped over roots, tasted blood in my mouth. I didn't stop until I reached my room, locked the door, and sat shaking beneath the covers. I wanted to believe it was a dream, that maybe I imagined it all, but I knew better. I felt it. The next morning, Eddie was back on his porch, swinging slowly, like nothing had happened. He waved at me when I passed. Same polite smile, same dead eyes, and then he pointed to the woods. Just one long, pale finger. He knew I was there. He knew I'd followed him, and he wasn't afraid.
That day, I skipped school and biked to the library. I searched everything, local legends, Missing person cases, occult symbols. I found a newspaper clipping from 1962. 3 children vanished near Hollow Ridge Well. Only clue, strange symbols burned into the stones. My stomach dropped.
The picture in the article, it was blurry, black and white, but standing in the background was a boy barefoot, thin, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. He looked exactly like Eddie, exactly what the article was over 60 years old. Either this was a cruel prank or Eddie wasn't a kid at all. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that boy from the photo. Eddie or whatever he was smiling from behind 60 years of silence. How could he look the same? Was it a trick, a coincidence? My brain screamed yes, but my gut screamed louder. Run or do something now. I started avoiding him. No eye contact. No more biking past his house, but Eddie didn't like being ignored. He'd show up at the grocery store when I was there, stand outside my window in the rain. Once, I found a drawing slipped under my door. It was me sleeping, my bedroom drawn in perfect detail. I showed my parents. They laughed, said I had an active imagination. My mom even said, "Maybe he just wants to be your friend." I wanted to scream. Why couldn't they see it? Why couldn't anyone see what he really was? Whatever he was pretending to be, he wasn't just a lonely kid. The drawings got darker. One showed me tied to a tree. Another showed the well and a stick figure falling into it. Then came the last one. I still see it when I blink too long. It was our whole neighborhood burning, houses on fire, people screaming, and in the center, Eddie, smiling. That night I locked every door and window. But I woke up at 3:13 a.m. The air was ice cold. I sat up in bed and froze. Eddie was standing outside my window, just standing there, eyes wide, face blank. He raised his hand slowly and pressed a finger to the glass, then turned and walked away. I knew I couldn't wait anymore. I snuck into his yard that night, climbed onto his porch. His house was silent to still. I crept to the window, heart hammering. Inside, everything looked wrong. The furniture was old, like 1950s old, dust everywhere. But on the mantel, fresh photos of me. There were dozens, me at school, me biking, me reading on my porch. He'd been watching me for weeks, months maybe. I backed away, heart slamming, and that's when I heard it creaking floorboards. From inside, closer, closer. I didn't look back, I ran, but I knew he was done hiding. After that night, I started carrying a pocket knife. I didn't know what I'd do with it. I just needed something, anything, to feel less powerless. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating. Every time I looked over my shoulder, I expected to see those dead eyes, but Eddie didn't show himself again. For days he was gone. No porch swing, no window watching. His house looked empty. I should have felt relieved. Instead, the silence was worse. It felt like the calm before a storm, like he was waiting for something or someone, and I was running out of time. So I went back to the library, dug deeper, old maps, archives, town records, and there, buried in a dusty box, I found it, a journal, handwritten, dated 1961. The author? A boy named Mason Cook. His last entry chilled me to my core. It said, "He comes from the well. He takes new names. He never ages." The entries matched everything I'd seen: kids disappearing, red lights in the forest, people ignoring the signs. Mason described a boy with hollow eyes moving house to house, decade to decade. And the last page, it just said, "If you see him, don't speak, don't run, just hide." That night I slept in the basement with the lights on. I barricaded the windows. I tried to convince myself it was just a story, just the ramblings of a scared kid. But I knew better. Mason had seen him just like I had. And if Eddie was the same, that meant he'd been here before dozens of times. And then 3 nights later I heard it, tapping, from upstairs, rhythmic, soft, like someone drumming their fingers on the glass. I crept to the top of the stairs, each step like thunder, and when I peeked around the corner, I saw it, Eddie, sitting in my living room, smiling, waiting. I don't know how he got in. All the doors were locked. The windows were shut tight. But there he was, cross-legged on the floor like a kid playing with toys, except there were no toys. Just photos, mine. He was flipping through them one by one, whispering something I couldn't quite hear. My feet felt nailed to the stairs. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. I just stared, praying he wouldn't notice me. But of course he did. Slowly, he turned his head, those glassy eyes locking onto mine. And then he smiled, not a warm smile, a knowing smile, like I'd finally passed his test. "I've been waiting," he said. His voice didn't fit his body. It was layered like 2, 3 voices at once, old and young, male and female. It was like hearing something not meant for this world. "You're not like the others," he added, crawling toward me on all fours, slow and deliberate. I stumbled back, almost falling. I grabbed the pocket knife and held it out, shaking. "Don't come closer," I said, but it came out as a whisper. He tilted his head, curious. "Do you think that'll work?" he asked, touching his chest with one finger. "You think metal scares me?" I didn't wait to find out. I ran out the back door into the street. I banged on my neighbor's door until my knuckles bled. But when they opened it, he was gone. No trace, no sign he'd ever been there. The photos in my house vanished. I sounded insane. I felt insane. But I knew the truth. He was something else, not a ghost, not a demon. Something older, something cruel. He didn't want to kill me, not yet. He wanted to break me, wear me down until I gave up on my own, and, God help me, it was starting to work. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I was disappearing, piece by piece. I started writing everything down. Every encounter, every word he said. If I ended up missing like the others, I wanted someone to know the truth. But the more I wrote, the more I realized he'd chosen me. Out of all the kids on that street, all the people he could have followed, he picked me. Why? I couldn't sleep without hearing him whisper. Couldn't look in mirrors without expecting to see his face behind mine. So I did something desperate. I emailed a demonologist. Sounded insane, I know, but she replied. She'd heard of creatures like entities bound to old places, old sins. She called it a mimic, a predator that takes the form of innocence. It feeds on fear, isolation. It erases people not just physically, but from memory. That's why no one remembered Kyle or Mason. It wasn't just disappearance. It was erasure, like they never existed at all. The only way to survive, she said, was to sever his link to the source, the place it first crossed over. For Edith, that was the well. The mimic needed the well like a spider needs a web. destroy the web, and maybe, just maybe, I could make it vulnerable. It was a long shot, but I had no choice. I waited until nightfall, took a sledgehammer from the garage and crept into the woods, heart pounding like a war drum. I found the well, the moss-covered stones, the rusted bucket chain. The air around it buzzed with energy, thick and hot like breath. I didn't hesitate. I started swinging. Stone shattered, dust flew, the well groaned like a dying animal. And then he screamed, not with his voice, with every voice he'd ever stolen. I heard Kyle, I heard Mason, I heard dozens of others, crying, begging, wailing through the trees. It was the most horrifying sound I've ever known. As the last stone cracked, the ground beneath me trembled. I dropped the hammer and backed away, heart about to explode. The air turned black like it was bleeding from the trees themselves. Shadows stretched unnaturally long. And from the center of the well, he rose, not Eddie, not anymore. His skin peeled like old wallpaper, revealing something beneath slick, gray, shifting. Too many eyes, too many mouths. The thing he truly was had never been human. You shouldn't have done that, it hissed, a voice like knives scraping glass. Now they'll all forget you too. I turned and ran, screaming through the woods, but every path I took circled back to the well. The forest wasn't real anymore, it was his, a hunting ground twisted by decades of fear. The cries of lost souls echoed through the branches. My name started to fade from my own memory. Then I saw them, faces in the bark, Kyle, Mason, so many others, trapped, watching. One of them whispered, "Burn it." I didn't ask questions. I pulled the lighter from my pocket, the one I used. The sneak smokes behind Schoolland. I lit the oil-soaked rag in my backpack, threw it down the well. Flames exploded upward like a dragon's breath. The scream that followed wasn't just sound, it was pain. Ages of hunger, fury, agony, all pouring out at once. The mimic convulsed, limbs flailing, face melting through dozens of identities, teachers, children, neighbors, even me. Then silence, just the sound of fire crackling and my own shattered breathing. The forest dimmed, the air cleared. I stumbled out of the trees as dawn broke, blooded, broken, but alive. No more whispers, no more tapping. For the first time in weeks, I was free, or so I thought. The town felt different when I returned, lighter, calmer. Even the wind felt warmer. My parents hugged me like they hadn't seen me in days, though I'd only been gone overnight. But when I mentioned Etta the mimic, they just looked confused. "Who?" my mom asked. "We don't know any Eddie." I checked the school yearbook. No Eddie, no Kyle, no Mason. Even their houses looked abandoned, like no one had lived there for decades. I thought I'd won, that maybe by destroying the well, I'd erased the mimic's grip on the world. But then I found something in my backpack, a photo, not one I'd taken. It was old, sepia-toned, faded, but it was me standing in front of the well. And behind me, blurry, half hidden in shadow, was that thing, not Etta, not a person, just eyes watching, waiting. It had been taken before the fire, before I even found the journal. I burned it, or tried to. The edges blackened, but the photo wouldn't catch. It refused to vanish. And then the whispers started again. Not at night, not in dreams, in mirrors and reflections. Whenever I turned away, I could feel breath on my neck, like it was still there, still inside something. I called the demonologist again. Her number had been disconnected. Her website gone. It was like she never existed. My browser history erased, my notes blank pages. I was being unwritten. The mimic wasn't just erased, it had infected me. I'd stared too long into the abyss, and now it stared back. So now I'm recording this, everything, before I forget who I am, before the whispers become my own thoughts. If you're hearing this, if this reaches anyone, stay away from the well. If you see a kid who never grows, who smiles too long, who shows up where he shouldn't, don't talk, don't run, just hide. I stopped trusting reflections, mirrors, windows, even puddles every time I saw myself. Something felt off, a twitch to delayed, a smile to wide. Sometimes I'd blink, that my reflection wouldn't. I knew then it hadn't left. I hadn't destroyed it. I'd brought it with me. At night, I'd wake up just standing in the hallway, facing the mirror, no memory of getting there. One night I found writing on the glass. Let me in. I don't know if I wrote it. I don't even know if I'm the one telling this story anymore. But I have to finish it. I went back to the woods, or what's left of them. The well was a crater now, charred, lifeless. But in the center, something was growing. Black roots, slick like oil, twisting into the soil. I touched one, and I saw flashes, faces, screams. The mimic wasn't dead, it was rebuilding. I needed help, real help. So I found a woman named Esther, paranormal investigator, deep web level weird. She agreed to meet, but warned me. If you've been marked, there may be no undoing. Still, I had to try. I wasn't going to let the thing hollow me out and wear my skin. Esther brought tool salt, candles, bones I didn't want to ask about. We met at the crater at dusk. She walked the edge, humming, eyes closed. Then she said it. This thing, it likes you. It's been waiting for you, feeding off you. It doesn't want your death. It wants your devotion. We began the ritual. I stood in the center. She circled me, chanting. The air thickened, then screaming. Not from outside, from inside me. I dropped to my knees, choking, my throat filling with ash. My vision blurred, and then I saw it in my own eyes, watching me, grinning. I screamed so loud it cracked my voice. Esther shouted for me to hold on, but I was slipping like something inside was peeling away. I felt him, the mimic, clawing from within, trying to crawl out through my skin. My memories flickered like broken film, my name, my childhood, all fading. Then Esther did something drastic. She cut her own palm and slammed it to my chest, smearing blood over my skin. The symbols she carved earlier began to glow. He's inside you, she screamed, but he's afraid. He's not whole yet. I grabbed onto that fear like a lifeline. I focused on one thing, my brother's voice, the way he used to laugh when we snuck out late for slushies. I held that memory tight, refused to let it be taken. The mimic shrieked inside me, its illusions fracturing. I could see them now, its lies masks melting away. Esther's voice guided me back. You have to reject it, spit it out. I opened my mouth and vomited black sludge. It burned like fire. It moved like it was alive. It screamed as it hit the ground, trying to crawl back. Esther crushed it under her boot, chanting faster. Smoke poured from my nose. My ears I couldn't see, but I felt the mimic retreating, clawing at the edges of my soul, leaving behind scars. but it was weakening, its hold loosening. And then, as Esther slammed a final charm to the ground, everything snapped. The world went silent. I collapsed, shaking, soaked in sweat. The crater was still, the roots had withered. The mimic was gone, vanished, maybe, or buried deeper. Esther knelt beside me. "You survived," she said, wiping the blood from my face. "But you'll never be the same. Nothing ever leaves completely." Weeks passed. I went back to school, tried to live like nothing happened, laughed at dumb jokes, ate cafeteria pizza. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed me back, that behind every locker, every dark corner, something watched, quiet, patient. I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that thing grinning through my face. My parents noticed. My mom cried once when she thought I wasn't looking. I think they knew I'd changed, not just in mood, in presence, like I wasn't fully here anymore. I tried to find Esther again. Her number was gone, her website erased. Just like the demonologist, just like the others. Like helping me had cost her everything, I started to wonder if she'd ever existed, or if the mimic had created her too. Another layer of control. Then came the dreams, not nightmares, worse. Dreams where I was at it, walking through school, smiling, waving, no one noticing the blackness behind my eyes. I'd wake up sweating, with dirt under my nails. Sometimes my shoes were muddy, though I never left my bed. One morning I found a drawing in my backpack, a child's sketch, crude, red crayon smeared across the page. It was the well, and next to it me, standing, waving, smiling to why I didn't draw it. My handwriting was on the back, but I didn't write the words, "I'm not done." I burned it again, still wouldn't catch, like the photo. Like the mimic's mark wasn't on paper but on me. I thought I'd escaped, I thought I'd won. But now I realize he didn't want to kill me. He wanted me to live, so I could carry him forward, into more places, into you. So this is it. If you've listened this far, maybe you've seen the signs, two shadows where none should be, a name whispered behind your ear, the same dream every night. Maybe he's testing you now, stretching his fingers, looking for someone receptive. I've tried everything, cleansings, exorcisms, therapy, pills, nothing makes him leave. He doesn't scream anymore, doesn't fight. He waits quietly deep in my chest, in my breath, and sometimes I hear myself laugh in a voice that isn't mine. They call it psychosis, trauma, PTSD. Fine, let them. I don't care what label they slap on it. But I know what I saw, I know what I became, and I know he's still with me because I let him in. The moment I read that journal, the moment I dug. Now I carry him, not just in memory, but in my bones. My shadow moves to slow sometimes, my reflection blinks when I don't, and if I stare into mirrors too long, I see teeth, not mine, not anymore, so I stopped looking. I avoid windows, I walk in sunlight, but even sunlight doesn't feel warm. Not really, it's like he dimmed everything, made joy smaller, laughter duller, love harder to feel. He didn't steal my soul, he just buried it, and now I'm digging, every day, to claw my way back to the surface. So why am I telling you all this? Because you need to know. Because the well is gone, but the mimic isn't. He doesn't need a place. He needs a person, and if I finally break, you'll hear a knock on your door, At night, 1 knock, then 3. And when you open it, he'll smile. Static fades in, a low hum black screen, then grainy video. A bedroom, yours, hard to tell, the camera is shaky. Breathing can be heard slow, shaky, it pans to a mirror. No one there, but the camera operator whispers, "Do you see it?" And suddenly a flash of a smile in the mirror. Why? Wrong. Cut to black again. Another whisper. I left the door open. Footsteps. 1 knock, then 3, just like he said. The screen flickers, showing frames from earlier. The well, the journal, the drawing, all burned, all intact, all impossible. Final image. A silhouette in a hallway. Slightly too tall, slightly too thin, standing perfectly still. The camera zooms in slowly, no face, just a blur. Then it lifts its hand, waves, cut to static. Then text fades in, white on black. He doesn't knock for permission, he knocks to warn you. He's already inside. Beat, static crackles, a deep voice. Not yours, not human, just 2 words, your turn. Screen goes black. 1 final flicker of light. A reflection in the screen smiling, watching, and then silence. I know how this sounds. You'll close this video, go back to scrolling, maybe joke about it with friends. But tonight, when the lights are off, when you're brushing your teeth and glance at the mirror, really look. Watch for that extra blink, that smile that isn't yours, because he doesn't chase you. He waits, he watches, he mimics. And when the time is right, when you're tired or broken or alone, he steps forward. He doesn't take your body, he makes you give it, piece by piece, until you don't remember who you were. I told this story as a warning, but maybe it was more than that. Maybe it was a door, a connection. Maybe in telling it, I opened something. Maybe you just heard his voice for the first time. Maybe it wasn't all me talking. Maybe he's been narrating too. So if you feel strange tonight, if you hear a whisper when no one's there, don't follow it. Don't answer your name in the dark. Don't read forgotten journals. And for the love of whatever's left of me, never, ever dig up what should stay buried. You think I'm being dramatic? Fine. Laugh, move on. Just remember this. When it's quiet, when everything feels just a bit off, that's not paranoia. That's memory. Some part of you remembers the well. The root, the mimic, and memory is how he comes back. Now close this. Shut it down. Burn your curiosity, or don't. Keep watching. Keep listening. He likes attention. He feeds on it. You gave him that. You gave me that. So, thank you for bringing him a little closer.